Japan's Iron Lady Takaichi forges stunning election win. Only Trump can stop the war. Ukraine's foreign minister calls for acceleration of peace talks. Trump says U.S. talks with Iran, very good, more negotiations expected. U.S. lifts 25% tariff on Indian goods linked to Russia oil purchases. Kashmir will become part of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has led her coalition to a historic election victory, securing a commanding mandate to pursue tax cuts and expanded military spending aimed at countering China. Projections showed Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party winning up to 328 of the 465 seats in Japan's lower house, easily surpassing the 233 seats needed for a majority. With coalition partner Japan Innovation Party, also known as Ishin, the government is set to secure a two-thirds supermajority, allowing it to override the upper house. Takaichi, Japan's first female prime minister, said voters had endorsed major shifts in economic and security policy despite strong opposition. She pledged to push ahead decisively with her agenda. The prime minister called the rare winter snap election to capitalize on strong approval ratings since taking office late last year. While her direct style has appealed to voters, her nationalist stance and focus on defense have strained relations with China, and her promise of tax cuts has unsettled financial markets. Heavy snowfall across parts of the country disrupted voting, with some polling stations closing early. Despite the conditions, turnout remained strong, making it only the third post-war Japanese election held in February. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andrii Sybiha said the leaders of Ukraine and Russia need to meet face-to-face to resolve the most difficult remaining issues in peace negotiations, adding that only U.S. President Donald Trump has the influence to secure a final agreement. In an interview with Reuters, Sybiha said Ukraine wants to accelerate efforts to end the nearly four-year war and build on momentum from U.S.-brokered talks before political factors, including U.S. midterm election campaigning, complicate the process. Only Trump can stop the war, Sybiha said, adding that while most elements of a 20-point peace plan have been agreed in principle, a few sensitive issues remain and must be settled at the leaders' level. Major disagreements persist, particularly over territory. Russia continues to demand that Ukraine cede remaining areas of the eastern Donetsk region, a position Kyiv has repeatedly rejected. Ukraine is also seeking control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest nuclear plant, which is currently under Russian occupation. A second round of trilateral peace talks in Abu Dhabi this week produced no major breakthrough, though the two sides agreed to exchange 314 prisoners of war, the first such swap since October. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the United States has proposed another round of talks in Miami next week, which Kyiv has accepted. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Friday that Washington held very good talks with Iran, following a round of indirect negotiations in Oman. Iran also said it expects further talks with the United States, describing the discussions as taking place in a positive atmosphere. The talks were held in Muscat and were mediated by Oman, with the two sides not meeting face-to-face. The negotiations took place as a U.S. naval group led by an aircraft carrier operated in Middle Eastern waters. Shortly after the talks ended, Washington announced new sanctions targeting shipping companies and vessels linked to Iran's oil exports. U.S. officials did not clarify whether the sanctions were connected to the negotiations. The meetings marked the first talks between the two countries since the United States joined Israel in strikes on Iranian nuclear sites in June. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump said another round of talks is planned for early next week, but warned that Iran would face very steep consequences if no agreement is reached. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, who led Tehran's delegation, said the discussions focused exclusively on Iran's nuclear program, which Iran says is peaceful, but which Western countries suspect could be aimed at developing nuclear weapons. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order lifting an additional 25% tariff on imports from India, following New Delhi's pledge to stop purchasing Russian oil. Under the order, which takes effect at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, India has committed to ending direct and indirect imports of oil from Russia, the White House said. The move implements a trade deal announced earlier this week, under which India also agreed to buy U.S. energy products and expand defense cooperation with the United States over the next decade. The agreement includes plans for India to purchase $500 billion worth of U.S. energy products, aircraft and aircraft parts, precious metals, technology products, and coking coal over the next 5 years. Washington has also agreed to reduce so-called reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods to 18%, down from 25%, although the rollout of those lower rates is still pending. Other terms include the removal of tariffs on certain aircraft and aircraft components. The decision marks a sharp reduction in U.S. tariffs on Indian exports, which stood at as high as 50% late last year, and eases months of trade tensions linked to India's purchases of Russian oil during the war in Ukraine. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has said that Kashmir will eventually become part of Pakistan, reiterating Islamabad's long-standing position on the disputed territory. Speaking on Wednesday during Kashmir Solidarity Day at the Pakistan-administered Kashmir Assembly in Muzaffarabad, Sharif said Pakistan stands in solidarity with the Kashmiri people and called for their wishes to be respected. He said the Kashmir dispute should be resolved through the implementation of United Nations Security Council resolutions, adding that the issue had regained diplomatic momentum following the India-Pakistan conflict in May 2025. Sharif accused India of escalating tensions through what he described as proxy actions, while stressing that Pakistan seeks peace based on equality and justice. He cited Pakistan's founder Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who once described Kashmir as Pakistan's jugular vein, and drew parallels between the Kashmir issue and the situation in Palestine. Sharif also referenced several Kashmiri separatist figures, militants, activists, and journalists, saying their struggle continues to inspire support for the Kashmiri cause.